Thank you, Riv. Joined by Bjergsen, WildTurtle, after the win that secures you your trip to playoffs. WildTurtle, got to start with you. Normally, you're the first team or the second team into playoffs. This time, you're the last team to grab a spot. But is it at least still a weight off your shoulders knowing that with 1 week still left to play in the regular season, you've made it?
It definitely is. We definitely knew we needed one win, and it just feels like a lot off our shoulders going into next week's matches, because if we lost this game against Dig, then next week would be very stressful because we would have to get one win, and if we didn't, it would be really sad, I guess. Now,
leading into today, you guys had been on a 4-loss streak, and that ties the longest loss streak you guys have ever had in the NALCS. So how did you guys deal with this period, this drought, basically, from a mentality standpoint, going into such an important matchup today?
Well, first of all, like a lot of people know, Reggie has been stepping in a lot in practice and really helping us improve, because we were just trying to change the whole way we view the game and the whole way we view practicing, and I think that's improved us a lot. And we did go in yesterday with a very risky comp that requires us to play early game very well, and we were just trying to use the practice to really play optimal and play a comp that has a high risk, high reward. But after failing that yesterday, today we kind of went back and we played more of a safe comp and a comp that we can fall back on even if we make mistakes in the early game and scale. So we're trying out a bit of different things, but I think we're all feeling pretty confident that we'll improve greatly before playoffs.
Now, so you have had this kind of shift in the coaching paradigm with Reggie taking more hands-on approach. Can you point to anything specifically that he does that has helped kind of right the ship?
Well, he just makes us work really hard, and he makes sure that we're really, really decisive about everything. Every single call, there's no maybe, there's no I think so. It has to be like yes or no, and it's going to be the right or the wrong call. It's something a lot of teams say, oh, we're going to start doing this, but it's being constantly enforced, and no one is ever being indecisive. We have to constantly be looking for opportunities and be proactive in every single play we make. Never be reactive. Always try to be proactive and force the plays on the enemy team.
Now, Turtle, some people on the team have been outspoken about the fact that they think this getting back to speed is going to take some time. You only have 1 week until the playoffs. Do you think Reggie coming back in to help you guys out, do you think you have enough time to get to where you need to be in order to run through the playoffs?
I think we are currently improving really quickly because we're just looking at the game the right way, and we want to make more plays, because before we were a very passive team. We wouldn't really lose hard, but we would lose in 50 minutes. Our games were really long, and then when we would win too, it would be a 50-minute win. So right now we're just trying to make as many plays as possible. If it doesn't work, then it doesn't. So I feel like this is the best way for us to approach the game right now, and I think it's working out pretty well for us right now.
I do want to shift over to something else that's a little unrelated to the organization. Talking about patch 513, we don't get to talk to pros very often about some of the more disruptive patches, and this is one that brought about a bunch of change during the summer split. For example, we're seeing Rylai's come out on a lot of majors now. Can either of you speak to some of those large changes and how we might see things continue to evolve over the next couple weeks with this big patch?
Well, obviously, Rylai's is a very strong item now, and people are trying to see where it's going to fit, how early in the build it's going to fit, what champions is worth it on. And I think we're just seeing different builds across all regions with people trying to figure out exactly what Rylai's Landry's fit, because those changes were very big, and people are trying to figure out exactly how good and how strong they are. There are champions where it's obvious that they're good, especially poke champions like Kog'Maw and even Ezreal in the late game, where you had a lot of these AoE spells, but now they have a very strong slow on AoE spells. But people are trying to fit in to build on control mages like Victor and Azir, so I think we're just going to continue to see people really get comfortable with the new items and figuring out what's the best.
When it comes to AD carries, we still see Kalista and Sivir being pretty highly prioritized, but below them, Tristana and Corki really kind of being the next two highlight picks. Can you speak to the merits of those two champions and why they're finding so much
For
play?
Corki, it's just his early and mid game is very strong. He's definitely one of the strongest AD carries for the mid game. Once he gets that Triforce, I think he's one of the strongest AD carries, and if you can get leads through his mid-game power spike, it would be really easy to win the games. So I think Corki is very strong, and Tristana is coming back because she has a pretty good laning phase with the right supports, and her late game is obviously really good, and you see her taking turrets in one push with the E, so she's a really strong champion for that.
Definitely a huge threat there. Final question. It's normally C9 TSM in the finals. C9's not even going to make it to the playoffs this time, but they happen to be your last game of the regular season. Is there any nostalgia around the fact that you're going to kind of be their farewell game? From a regular season standpoint, they still have the opportunity to make it to that 7th place spot and make the gauntlet. But this is something that, the whole region is not used to seeing.
I don't know. I still think C9 is a very strong-looking team. We saw them just playing against CLG, and they did look very strong. High, especially early game when Lily was just controlling the whole map. And I do think that even though it's farewell for playoffs, C9 is definitely going to be looking really strong next split, and it's going to be a good game.
All right. Well, again, gentlemen, congratulations on the win today, securing that playoff spot. Now we've got more matches in our queue, so meet us back here in just a couple minutes for Team Dragon Knights versus Team Impulse.